So it doesn't matter if you're new, doesn't matter if you've been in for a long period of time. Either way, this is going to be extremely helpful. And they say that amateurs start a business, professionals launch their business, right? When Apple comes out with a new product, they don't just release it, they launch it to what? To the stratosphere, right? The same thing with Nike, same thing with every single major company. And that's the same way that you want to treat this business. Now, the problem is you only paid $250 to get into the business. And so you treat it like a couple $100 business. But if you treated this business like a 7-figure business, then guess what? It's going to pay you in that way. So let's go ahead and get it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to get started. So first and foremost, real quick, I want to make things very, very clear. When people are brand new, the first thing that I do is I give them a fast start training with the products. There's one prerequisite to the launch. Before we go in to the why, the goals, the list, the invite, and launching their actual business, the number one prerequisite to the launch is making sure that people get product results. People get results with the product. So you should have some kind of a fast start training where you're helping somebody maybe take their first trade and get results, or maybe you're helping them book their first trip to save a ton of money with TLX, or maybe you're helping them post their first reel if they're using SMX, whatever product / service that they're using. That is number one, because when people are a product of the product, then they're going to share this with other people naturally, because they're getting what? Because they're getting results. And so we got to make sure that our terms are correct, because I'll tell you guys this: miscommunication will destroy your organization. So if I'm talking about the launch and you're talking about the fast start training, and we're thinking we're talking about the same thing, and I asked, did you launch this person? And you say yes, and all you did was help them go through a product fast start training, but you didn't actually help them go through the whys, the goals, the list, the invite. You could see how that could be a major issue. And this happens all the time. So understand that we got to be using, similar terms. So someone gets started, first things first is I make sure that they get completely set up for success with the services, with whether it's FRX, DCX, TBX, SFX, TLX, SMX, ECX. I'm trying to remember if I got them all. You get the point. Whatever it is that they get started on first, boom, get them set up, get them some results with their products, with their services. That's the number one prerequisite to the actual launch itself. Now, once I do that, this is also very important. The launch needs to take place within 24 to 48 hours, basically immediately, as quickly as possible. Why is that? The answer to the question is simple. When people get started, their excitement is what? It's at an all-time high. And their fear is where? It's at an all-time low. But as time goes by, especially as time goes by without them getting a result or without them getting value from the products and from the services, that excitement level drops and that fear level starts to go up. And then that's when you see people, when that fear crosses that excitement level, you'll see people fall off, right? And so the launch needs to take place immediately, as soon as you possibly can. Now, before we even talk about the actual launch, you want to understand the purpose of it in the first place. So number one is one of the major reasons of the launch is you want to validate their decision. So when someone is brand new, I create them a welcome flyer. I welcome them to the team. I drop it in the chats. I congratulate them on getting started. I celebrate the fact that they just got started. And the reason why I do that is because they just took the leap into entrepreneurship. They just took the leap of faith to changing their life, their family's life, their financial future. And we're really observing the masses and doing the opposite. And so they're going to get a lot of negativity, right? From people around them saying, hey, this might not work, or hey, they're crazy, or whatever it is. So we want to make them feel very, very good about making that decision to get started. And so you want to validate their decision that they got started, number one. Number two is, one major purpose of the launch is to set up proper expectations. And the key words are from the beginning, because it's very, very easy to set an expectation, but it's impossible almost to change an expectation later on. Let me give you an example. Let's say that I have a weekly event in my marketplace and they happen every single Thursday. as an example. And let's say I sign up Bob into the business and I don't set proper expectations with him from the beginning. So I don't tell him how important the weekly events are every single week. And I allow him to miss 1 or 2 events. And then I try to come back around later and say, hey, Bob, by the way, we have events every Thursday and they're super, super important and you need to be there. He's going to be thinking in his head, well, if this was so important, why didn't you just tell me in the first place? So you have to understand it's the expectations that you set in the beginning that are going to determine how far and how fast the people in your business actually go. So whether it's setting the expectation of never missing an event, whether it's setting the expectation of this being a 2 to 4 year plan, whether setting the proper expectations of there being an emotional roller coaster. Don't let your highs get too high. Don't let your lows get too low, because there's a little bit of an emotional roller coaster in entrepreneurship. Whether it's someone who expressed they want to build the business with me, I always have something called, I call it the duplication conversation. And I say, hey, listen, hey, Bob, I'm going to help you do your first few invites, your first few 3-way calls, your first few presentations, but I need you to watch me very closely, because if you want to get to my level, you have to be able to do everything that I'm doing. And if I can, I'm gonna, help you do your first few, insert the blank here, whatever you're helping them out with. But I need to get you from dependent, which is fine because you're new, to independent as quickly as possible so that you can get the results that I'm getting as well. And I get them excited about taking more responsibility and becoming independent. So whatever expectations you want, you can decide that. Those are a few that I have for myself, but the expectations that you set at the beginning are going to determine how far and how fast they actually go. Now, I like to use some type of a getting started checklist. I'm going to show you mine that I use personally here in a minute, but this is very important because people need direction. If they don't have exact direction, if they don't have exact steps, people get confused. And so I'll show you that here in a second. But after that, one of the most important parts of the launch is just helping people take action. I call it positive peer pressure. So a lot of people, sometimes when they're on their own, they may not do as much. Why? Because they're on their own and they don't have someone watching over them, and it's not a job. So this is a volunteer army, right? So for me, I like to, when I'm launching somebody into the business, help them take action immediately. Because if I help them take action, then they're going to get what? Results. So, which is the next thing, ironically, results, right? I call it the belief check. When people get their first check, right? They see this thing actually works. What's that going to do to their belief? It's going to raise their belief. And then last but not least is you can't go over everything. It's physically impossible to train them on everything, on how to go from 0 to a full-time income or 6-figure income or higher earner within a 24-hour time period. So I want to give people homework. I want to give people assignments. People, because of school and because of their job, they're used to thinking in terms of homework. So I'll say, hey, watch the academy, and once you finish these videos, get back to me, and then we're going to hop on another call so I can help you with the next steps. Or whatever the next step is, there should always be a next step for the person that you're working with. Now, your job as a leader is 2 things. Number 1, you need to provide support. People need to feel like you're there for them, because if not, why did they join you specifically if you're not even going to be there to help them along the way? And then accountability. Hold people accountable to the things that they said that they were going to do. Maybe that's another expectation that you set. You say, hey, listen, hey, Bob, look, you take 1 step towards your success. I'm going to take 2 steps to make sure you succeed, right? If you're putting in the work, you're being coachable, you're doing the things you need to do, I'm going to be here 1,000,000%. All you got to do is your part. I got you. I'm going to do my part, right? Now, let's get into the actual launch itself. So it's 4-step launch process. You got the why, the goals, the list, and the invite. Each one of these are very, very important. But I'll tell you this, you probably want to spend 20% of your time on the why, the goals, and the list, and 80% of your time on the actual invite. Why? Because the invite is what's going to help people actually get results. You can go through someone's why, you can set perfect goals, you can help them make a list, but if you don't help them invite, guess what? Then they're not gonna, that's the only step that they need to actually take in order for them to get the results that they want. So that's probably the most important part. But let's talk about each one of these individually. Oh, this is like a document that I use. It's like why, goals, list, invite that I created back in the day. Whether you use this exactly or you create something for yourself, it's literally exactly what it is that we're going to go through. So let's talk about each one. Start with the why. First of all, I can't expect Bob to open up to me unless I open up to Bob. So oftentimes I'll say, hey, Bob, let me tell you why I'm doing this, right? And I'll talk about, what my reason why is, why I'm doing this. And after that, then I can ask Bob what his why is. And the first thing I put on here is desire is the starting point of all achievement, right? I believe that comes from Think and Grow Rich, right? There's a chapter called Desire. And supposedly that book has created more millionaires than any other book in the world. And desire is the starting point of all achievement. So people need to, what is desire? It's a strong feeling of wanting something to happen. So we need to create this burning desire in people. People need to, clarity is power. People need to know exactly what it is that they want. So I ask people 2 simple questions like, hey, why are you doing this? And who are you doing this for? It's easy to give up on yourself. It's impossible to give up on your family. It's impossible to give up on your kids. It's impossible to give up on your parents. It's impossible to give up on the people that are close to you. And the key, the most important part of asking somebody their why is it has to be emotionally charged. It has to be, I would call it a white hot burning desire. Because I'll tell you this, when you get to the point where you say, hey, I'm going to find the way or I'm going to make the way, then you pretty much guarantee your success. Now, you'll because there's a million different ways to build the business. There's a million different ways to, to make $1 million, right? And so it's not about the how. We all know what to do, but the problem is most people don't know why they're doing it, and therefore they don't have that fuel to help them take action. Now, there's 2 types of motivations. There's inspiration and there's desperation. I'll tell you this, for me, when I got involved back in the day, I was desperate. I was working at a job that I absolutely hated, which is actually might be a cheat code. I see people and they're just at their job sometimes, and sometimes they don't like it, but it's not that bad and they're just comfortable. For me, I was at a point where I absolutely hated my job. And because I hated it so much, I said to myself, I will do whatever it takes for however long it takes to make it happen. And that is how I made it happen. So whether you're motivated by desperation or maybe it's inspiration, you have these goals, you have these things you want to accomplish, you have these, maybe it's material things, right? Material things will only get you so far. More than likely, it's probably going to be, like I said, being able to take care of the people that you care about most. Whatever it is, I think that you should have something in front of you that you're shooting towards. At the same time, I think that you should have something that maybe you're also kind of running away from as well. Because when you have both, maybe a little bit of desperation and inspiration, maybe that's that sweet spot that can help you. Like I said, you already know what to do. It's not about knowing what to do. It's about doing what it is that you know. And when you're in that sweet spot and you have a little bit of things that you're running away from and things that you're also shooting towards, that's when you're going to take the action necessary to make it happen. Now, when going through people's why, I let people know that the reason why that you need to have such a strong why is because there's an emotional roller coaster. And when people get involved in entrepreneurship, most people let their highs get too high and their lows get too low. Maybe they invite a lot of people and then maybe they get a lot of rejection, right? And then they're like, man, I don't know if I could do this. And then maybe they get their first customer started and they're like, wow, I'm going chairman tomorrow. And then maybe that person quits and then they're doubting themselves again. And most people let their highs get too high and their lows get too low. And I let people know that, how would I explain this? The way that I would explain it is I just say, hey, this is going to be a 2 to 4 year plan. You're going to have highs. You're going to have low. We're shrinking a 40-year plan into 2 to 4 years. This is exactly how I would explain it. We're shrinking a 40-year plan, work for 40 years and then retire, into a 2 to 4 year plan. And so there's going to be the same amount of ups and downs, but in a compressed period of time. And if you can, not let your highs get too high and your lows get too low, then you're going to have success a lot sooner rather than later. And then last but not least, the why holds people accountable. So you can say, hey, Bob, listen, I understand that your why is this, this, and that. If, let's just say worst case scenario, maybe you stop hopping on the call, stop showing up to the event, stop doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. Do you want me to leave you alone or do you want me to remind you why you got started? 9 times out of 10, when they're first getting started, you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, yeah, of course, remind me why I got started in the first place. Boom. Now that gives you a little bit of leverage in case people may not be doing what they're supposed to be doing. And now you can remind them, hey, bro, let's get you back on track. Remember why you got started in the first place. But if you don't have that conversation in the beginning, then you kind of just seem like a not very nice person. We'll put it that way. So number one is why. Number two is goals. So people need to have clear goals. And the way that I like to break it down is I'll pull up the compensation plan. And if you want to get very, very technical with the goals, there's kind of a science to goal setting. So you want to have a long-term goal. And let's say, by the way, I don't think a year or 2 years is actually a long-term goal, but we'll just say long-term since most people have very short attention spans nowadays. But you want to have a longer-term goal, let's say, 12 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, right? And the power of having a bigger goal, the power of having a beginning with the end in mind, setting a big goal and having that long-term goal is that maybe you're not where you want to be right now, but you could borrow from the vision of the future to take action today. You might not have the results that you want right now, but you know where it is that you're going. And that inspires you and that motivates you. But the problem is when you have a bigger goal that's kind of too far away, then you might get confused on what your next step is in front of you right now. And you might not be sure what to do now in order to add up to that longer term goal. So you begin with the end in mind, you have a bigger goal. Maybe that's Chairman 10 in the next 24 months, in the next 12 months, in the next 6 months, depends on the person, right? You have a big goal, and then what do? You reverse engineer that goal. You break it down into small pieces so you know exactly what the next step is. And if you want to get very technical, that next step that you should be doing today should be something that pushes you outside of your comfort zone, but also you have the ability to do. Sometimes people will have these goals that are so big that you're only going to get discouraged if you can't do the thing that's right in front of you, right? You don't want to discourage yourself. You don't want to set yourself up for failure. However, you also want to push yourself outside of your comfort zone because you don't want to make things too easy for yourself as well. And you want to write it down. You want to have a goal card. Last thing I'll talk about with goals is I learned this from Bob Proctor, right? He talks about having a goal card, writing it down on a note card, and writing it down in the present tense as if it's already done. The reason why we do this is because many reasons. One is when you're writing something down, you're literally ingraining it into your brain. It's literally becoming a part of your subconscious mind, number one. Number two is anything that you say after I am, those are the two most powerful words on the planet. Anything that you say after I am now starts to happen. Anything that you say after I am, you start to become, right? So I am so happy and grateful now, right, that I am whatever it is, whatever your goal is. And when you carry this goal card with you, every single time you touch your goal card, it reminds you of your goal. More specifically, every single time you put your hand in your pocket, you touch your goal card, you know what really happens? It sends a light message through your central nervous system. It strikes a group of cells in your brain that picture resonates with, and a picture of your goal flashes on the screen of your mind. And people say if you could hold it, if you could see it in your mind, you could hold it in your hand. And so check this out. Let's say that hypothetically someone says a goal of Chairman 10 within the next 12 months. So you begin with the end in mind. Chairman 10 is 500 people, but is it 500 people? I don't really think so. The way that I like to think about it is rather than 500 people, I like to break it down into a smaller piece. I like to say, hey, that's really 10 to 12 P1000s. So all I got to do is go Platinum 1000 myself, run the play myself, and duplicate one new P1000 every single month for the next 12 months. And then boom, congratulations to myself. I'm going to hit Chairman 10. So how do I go P1000? Let's break it down even further. Let's say I hypothetically invite a list of 50 people or 60 people. And if that sounds like a lot of people, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to tell you how to increase that list here in a minute. But let's say you do that. You pique their interest. You're the preview to the movie. You don't say too much. You want to say just enough to get them in front of the information. Step two, you show them the plan. You have them see the presentation so that they can make an educated decision. Step number three is three-way. You get them connected to whichever leader you feel like they could relate to the most. Out of that list of 50 to 60 names, let's just say that on average, 2 out of 10 join. That's 12 to maybe 15 personals, right? And then congratulations, you just hit P150, P600 based off of your own personals, basically, without anyone else even referring people. And guess what? Some people are just going to be a product of the product, which is fine. Oftentimes when people get results with those products, they want to share the opportunity with other people later on. However, let's say that a third of those 12 people, 3 to 5 of them, want to build the business with you, and you help them go Platinum 150. You teach them the PS3 system. You teach them how to invite. You help them show the plan to 10 to 20 people so that they go P150. And if you help 3 to 5 people go Platinum 150, plus the original 12 to 15 people you signed up in the first place, guess what? Congratulations, you just hit Platinum 1000. And you duplicate one Platinum 1000. You continue personally recruiting, leading by example, Taproting, helping your team with recruiting as well. And you help one new person hit Platinum 1000 every single month for the next 12 months, and you hit Chairman 10 within a calendar year. You might do it a little bit faster. It might take a lot longer. It depends on the person, but this is very, very simple. It's not rocket science. So number one, we have someone's why. Number two, we have clear goals. We have a bigger goal, we have a long-term goal, and we have short-term goals. So we know exactly what we got to do to hit those first few ranks. Then number three is making a list of people that you want to potentially talk to. Now, the reason why, first and foremost, if you're launching somebody, you have to explain to them why they're making a list. You don't just say, hey, make a list. First of all, you say, hey, what's your why? Why are you doing this? Okay, cool. Well, in order for you to accomplish that why, what are some good goals for you? Okay, cool. Now that I know your why, now that I got your goals, this is what you're going to do. Boom. Now you give them the blueprint, which is making the list, right? Now, the reason why making a list is so important is because 80% of people don't join on the spot. It's the second, third, fourth, fifth time that you talk to them. So if you're not writing things down, you're going to miss out on 80% of people that would have joined your business. So that helps you keep track of your leads. That's the main reason. One of the main reasons. I can give you 5 of them, but we'll just leave it with that one. Now, when you're making a list of people that you want to potentially talk to, you want to start with the people that you know. You want to start with your warm market first. And the reason why you want to do that, I can give you another 5 reasons. 1 is it's a lot easier. It's a lot faster. 2, we only build 3 teams, team A, team B, team C. After you sign up a 4th, 5th, 6th person, it doesn't start multiple legs of business. You place those people under those people that you got started first. So the people that you start first are going to benefit the most. I can give you a million reasons, but you want to start with the people that you know first, people that already know you, people that already like you, people that already trust you. And then from there, your average person meets 2 new people a day. This is an absolute fact. So if you want to be a professional in this industry, if you want to be a professional networker, if you want to hit a full-time income, 6-figure, 7-figure level, I've never met anyone who's achieved big levels of success without adding at least 1 or 2 or a few people to their list every single day, whether that's in person, whether that's online. You're already meeting people anyways. It's just a matter of adding them to your list. Do you have to tell them about the business right away? No, not necessarily. Maybe it's not the right time. However, you're going to add them to your list. So whenever the right time does happen, you can tell them, or maybe it comes up naturally right away, either way, but you're going to add people to your list daily. Now, one thing that's very, very important is you want to recruit up. What that means is on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 to 10, 0 being no contacts, no credibility, no coachability, and 10 being, take a look at some of the top chairmen within the company. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of contacts, a lot of credibility, a lot of coachability. You want to find higher quality people. Now, this might seem obvious, but the reason why I have to say this is because it's a lot easier to recruit people that look up to you rather than recruit people that you look up to. So it's very natural to go after what I would call the lowest hanging fruit, the people that are sometimes the easiest to talk to. What you want to do is you want to find successful business owners or open-minded people or entrepreneurs or people who are in sales or in insurance or in real estate, or people who are entrepreneurial minded already, or people that have an extremely good work ethic, or people who just have the qualities that you would be looking for if you were to open a brick and mortar, 6 or 7 figure business, right? As if you invested a ton of money into it. You're not going to just partner up with anybody. You're the one that has the opportunity. They need you, right? But the thing is that when you're building the business, you don't want to just talk to anybody. You want to find super, super, super high quality people. And then this is going to sound contradicting, but when I say never prejudge, what I mean is I'm not saying talk to anybody. That's not what that means. Never prejudge means the people that you think are going to say no, oftentimes are going to say yes. The people that you think are going to say yes, oftentimes are going to say no. I've never met somebody that hasn't experienced this. Not a single person out of the hundreds, if not thousands of people that I've worked with personally, have I ever met somebody that was 100% accurate, where they knew exactly, oh man, they knew exactly who was going to say yes and exactly who was going to say no. They get surprised every single time. So the people that you say no, that you think are going to say no, don't be surprised when they say yes. And the people that you thought were going to say yes for sure, don't be surprised when they say no. It's just a numbers game, just like any other business, just like anything else. If we know that on average, maybe 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10 that see the information are going to join, then all we got to do is go through the numbers. We don't know who's going to be the 7 out of 10. We don't know who's going to be the 3 out of 10, but we know that if we talk to 10, that those are going to be the numbers. And based off that, we can achieve what we want to achieve. Let's see. Last but not least, we have the why, the goals, the list. Last but not least is the invite. This is the most important step of the launch. Now, I do what's called an invite session with people. I do what's called an invite session with people, ideally in person, but if not on Zoom. What is that? What that is rather than saying, hey, Bob, you go out there and invite on your own. That's like, imagine if you got a new job today and the manager said to you, hey, go out there and do the job without giving you the proper training. Doesn't work. Bob's going to go out, invite a ton of people, probably mess it up, probably get a lot of rejection, probably get discouraged, probably not get the results that he wants. Why? Because you did not actually help him invite, which is the most important part. So what I do is I'll actually sit down with this person and I'll teach him the invite the same way I'm going to teach you. And I'll say, hey, this is what to say. This is how you say it. I'm going to invite you, you invite me, and we'll practice. And then we'll actually invite people together. And then once he hits Platinum 150, I know he can invite on his own. But I'm not going to set someone up for failure. The reason why I say this is because 9 times out of 10 in the past, when I made the mistake to allow that person to invite on their own, when they say, yeah, I got it, don't worry, that means that they don't got it. That's what that means. And so 9 times out of 10, I let somebody invite on their own. They mess it up and they didn't level up. 9 times out of 10, on the other hand, that I sat down with somebody and I helped them with the invite the way I just told you, they hit P150 almost every single time. So it all comes down to actually helping them invite, whether that's in person or whether that's on Zoom. Now, let's talk about the actual invite itself. People always say, hey, what do I say? How do I invite people, right? And what you say is important, but it's not nearly as important as how you're saying it. I would say that 80% of the invite is excitement, certainty, urgency, and exclusivity. Now, there's a success principle. I call it the law of state transference, and it clearly states whatever energy you have will be reciprocated to you. So if you're excited, if you're fired up about the information, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be excited as well. When it comes to certainty, I heard there's a very popular quote from Tony Robbins, and here's what he said. He said that whenever there's a relationship between two people, whoever is more certain will always persuade the other person every single time. Urgency, if you make it important, they'll make it important. When I'm inviting people, that's the last call on earth. That's the last event on earth. If I let people know that there's a lot of different calls going on, then they're going to procrastinate it and they're not going to actually check out the information. Why? Because you had no sense of urgency. And guess what? The longer that people wait to do something that they should do, the higher the probability that they're not going to do it at all. So later typically turns into never. So when you invite them, you have to invite them with a sense of urgency. And then last but not least is exclusivity. People want what they cannot have. Exclusivity is very important. So that right there is 80% of the invite. It's not what you're saying. It's how you're saying it. It's your excitement, it's your certainty, it's your urgency, and your exclusivity. Now, when it comes to the actual words, we always talk about, hey, be in a hurry, clear time, create value, take it away. 4 simple steps. I forgot to say this as well. Texting doesn't really work because there's no sense of urgency. They can't experience your energy over the phone. They can ignore your texts. And there's anytime something very good or very bad happened to you, you typically got a phone call. So I'm telling you, in the perfect world, you want to actually pick up the phone and call somebody, right? So number one is you want to be in a rush. So I'll say, hey, Bob, how are you? Normal conversation, blah, 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 blah. But I'll say, hey, listen, I'm about to hop on another call. I only have a second to talk. I let him know I'm in a rush. The reason why I do that is because, like I said, I want to be the preview to the movie. On the other hand, the biggest mistake that most people make when inviting is we call it word vomiting on people. Try to explain an hour-long presentation in a conversation and you confuse people and scare them away, and you give them information and then they prejudge. You don't want to do that. Be in a hurry. Hey, I only have a second to talk. Yo, what are you doing tomorrow at 7 p.m.? I clear their schedule. That's step number 2, clear time. Once they're free, you eliminated any possible excuse that they could have to not show up. Now, step number 3 is to create value. Now, there's many, many different ways to create value. However, I would say that my favorite way is probably just edifying the person that I'm working with, edifying the person that's going to be speaking. Now, edification, for those of you who are new, is everything. It's very important. To edify is to talk very, very highly about someone or something to raise their influence. And this is amazing because people want to meet other high value people. So that creates a ton of value, but also you're raising their influence. So by the time they get to meet that person and hear from them at the event or see them on the opportunity call, that they're going to be very easily influenced because of what you said about that person, right? So you could say, I'm going to use Leanne, my business partner / girlfriend, as an example. So I could say, hey, listen, since you're free tomorrow at 7, because you make sure that they're free, right? Since you're free tomorrow at 7, we're having an event. Here's date, here's time, here's the details. Listen, you could say, I got super lucky. I got connected to an entrepreneur from Seattle who has, been able to, have a lot of success, been able to, get some really, really big results from different online income sources. Somebody who, just spoke at our last company convention in front of 7,000 people. And I couldn't think of, and she gave me the blueprint on how she achieved her success. And literally tomorrow at 7 p.m., they're having an event. Here's a date, here's a time. And since you're free tomorrow, let's go together. Now, what I would say is when you're talking, this invite that we're going over is obviously for people that you know. With people that you know, one of the most important things that you can do is you want to assume interest. If you assume someone's interested, 9 times out of 10, they'll be interested, right? And that goes back to the whole certainty thing we talked about earlier. If I'm inviting my best friend to my birthday, it'd be weird for me to say, hey, do you want to come to my birthday? It's like, no, like, hey, birthday this weekend, let's go. That's how we naturally talk to people. But all of a sudden, when it comes to inviting, we want to, just say weird things like, hey, are you interested? Or, hey, what else do people say? I think you might like it. It's like, no, I know you're going to love it, right? That's the type of certainty that you have to have with people that you already know. However, with people that you don't know, that's a little bit different, right? I'd obviously ask, but with people that I do know, that's how I would do it. So yeah. Then another thing you could do when you're creating value is people want to know why me? Why did you reach out to me specifically? And so I'll say, hey, also I thought about you because, bro, like you're one of the hardest working people that I know. I know you're super money motivated. I think that you crush it, right? And it's crazy. Never in the invite did I say Forex or crypto or stocks or this or that. And the reason why is because, like I said, less is more. Unless I know they're super, super interested in one of those things specifically, then yeah, I'll talk about it. But I just want to be the preview to the movie. I want to say just enough to get people to the event, which is, by the way, we just had an event in Seattle last night. And we had, I don't know exactly how many people there, but this is exactly what I had everybody within our organization do to pack out this event. And I didn't talk to a single negative person at that event. Maybe they were just, secret agents or something being negative in their own head. I don't know. But every single guest that I talked to after the event was super excited and was either getting started or wanting to get started. And it's because there's an energy transfer that happens at these events that can't be explained through words. And so that's why you just want to be the preview to the movie. Say just enough to get people to the event or have them hop onto the call or whatever it is. Last but not least, step number 4, take it away. So if they have questions, it doesn't matter what questions people have. Well, hey, what is it? Well, hey, how does it work? Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. The moment you answer one question, guess what they're going to do? They're going to ask you another question and then another. And then you fall into the trap where you give away too much information and then they prejudge, right? Because you told them too much. Now, I'll say this. I'll say, hey, Bob, that's a great question. However, I do got to go. Remember, you told them that you were already in a rush in the first place, right? That's a great question. I do got to go. But I would say, number 1, it's mostly visual, right? It's something that you have to see for it to all make sense. And number 2, I know for a fact that you're going to be super, super excited about it. So since you're free tomorrow, let's go together to this event. It's all going to make sense in person. And then whatever questions that you have, I can answer afterwards. Sound good? Sounds good. That's exactly what I would do. Say, hey, that's a great question, but I do got to go. Number 1. Number 2, it's mostly visual. It's something that you have to see in order to understand. So let's go to this event tomorrow. Since you're already free, you're going to be super excited about it. I can already tell. Afterwards, if you have any questions, awesome. But let's do that and then just go from there. Sound good? Sounds good. That's what I would say. Something along those lines. Obviously, I don't have a script in front of me. I'm just, telling you generally what I'm saying. Now, if this person is still super, super skeptical, what I'll say is, hey, bro, at the end of the day, this is something that I'm doing that's, that I'm super excited about. And I at least want to get your opinion. And so you could see what I'm super passionate about. And, if you like it, amazing. If not, no big deal. But I really think you'd be excited about it. Now, the reason why I sometimes say this, I only say this if they're very, very skeptical, is because people love to buy, but they hate to be sold. So when you take the pressure away and you say, hey, if you like it, great. If not, no big deal. But I just want you to check it out because it's something that I'm super excited about. That works very well. I don't say that all the time, only if it gets down to that. Now, if I'm helping someone invite, I have them take notes because it helps them remember what to say. And then at the very last thing I have on this slide is when someone's new, I like to help them have their own home event and their own call, their own opportunity call on Zoom. Home event, the reason why I do this is because I like to compress timeframes, right? I could help Bob do 10 one-on-one presentations. That would take 10 hours to sign up 3 out of 10 to help him go P150. So 10 hours of work to sign up 3 people to help him go P150. Or I could have one home meeting, show 10 people all at once and help him go P150 in an hour, which I've helped people do within their first 24 hours. Does that happen all the time? No, obviously not, but you get the point. So in person, if I'm in person with somebody, I love to do a home meeting with them. And then every single person that they know people that are locally and they know people who are not local. So what I'll do is I'll have them have their own, let's just say, grand opening home event. If you're going to have open your own business, right? You're going to have a grand opening. That's what the home event's for. But I also do the same thing on Zoom for anybody that they know that is not local as well. But now we have an amazing system where there are 2 opportunity calls that are going on every single day at 7 EST and 10 p.m. Eastern time, which is 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Pacific. So you could use that as well. But what I notice is that oftentimes when people have their own call for themselves, they have a sense of ownership. And because they have a sense of ownership, they end up inviting a lot more people than they would have had it had been a group call. So maybe you leverage both. Maybe you help someone have their own private home event / Zoom for their very first one. And then after that, they leverage the system calls. You do what you want to do. Now, how do I know I launched somebody properly? Like, what were the results of the launch? Well, did they have their home event / Zoom call booked? Check. Did you sit down and actually help them invite? Check. Did they hit Platinum 150? Check. Did they plug into their first event? That's super, super important because when people go to their first event, they can see the success stories, see the testimonies, meet the people, and it raises their belief, right? So people say, hey, I launched somebody. Well, did these things happen? Because if these things didn't happen, then they did not get launched correctly. Let me give you guys one last tip on this before I move to the next slide. If you have a large team, you're not going to be able to launch every single person individually yourself. And what tends to happen is maybe you have Joe on your team who is supposed to launch Bob. If you ask, hey, Joe, how did the launch go with Bob? 9 times out of 10, Joe will say good because he's the one who did the launch. So obviously he's going to tell you it went well. What you really want to do is you want to say, hey, Bob, how did the launch go? Hey, did Joe help you, invite everybody? Did Joe help you set up your first home event and Zoom call? You need to inspect what you expect. If you expect things to get done correctly, you need to inspect, make sure that it actually got done the right way. Now, success loves speed. So hypothetically, let me give you 2 different examples. Let's say somebody signs up on Sunday. They don't get launched until Wednesday. They don't have their home event until Saturday. And then they don't hit P150 until, let's just say 2 weeks from now. I've no exaggeration, signed somebody up on a Sunday, help them get trading results or product results within literally the first few hours of me being with them. And then from there, launching their business, having a home meeting the next day and hitting P150 within 72 hours. And guess what? People don't do what you say, people do what you do. So when those 3 people see how quickly that person got trading results and business results, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do the same thing. So by the time the person A, the slow person, has their first home meeting, this person already is a Platinum 150 and he has people on his team inviting for the next meeting. Maybe he's even a P600 within his first week by the time the person is having their first meeting. So you can see how important that it is. You as the leader, set the tone. You as the leader, set the speed. And so you need to make sure that things go as fast as possible, right? As fast as they can. Sometimes things are going to go a little bit slower. You can't control everything, but you want things to go as fast as they can. Now, I think this is the last slide. So most people have low belief or no belief because they've never done anything like this before. They don't have a successful entrepreneur. They don't have a successful trader, investor in their family, right? And so they take no action or low action, and they get low results or no results. And that reinforces their limiting belief that they couldn't do it in the first place, right? So what do we need to do? We need to raise the bar. You know what's funny? Even if someone takes massive action, if they do it with low belief, they're still not going to get the results. Right? If I can invite 1 million people, but if I do it with no energy and if I do it like super doubting myself, like with a lot of fear, even if I take massive action, still not gonna work, right? So we need to raise the bar, right? By us raising people's belief, helping them take action, helping them take the right action, helping them take action with the right energy, they're going to get what? They're going to get results. And what's the results going to do to their belief? It's going to reinforce their positive belief that they could do it. And now they're going to take more action, get more results. And it's an upward spiral rather than this, downward spiral. And so if you help, this is from Eric Worre. He said this, he said, if you help your team make $1 within the first 30 days, you're going to retain 70% of your organization. And if they don't, then you're only going to retain less than 20%. So you want to have very, very high retention, or do you want to have very, very low retention? That's going to be determined by you launching people the right way. So guys, that is it for me. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, listening in. And yeah, what I want you guys to do is, if you're new, I want you to hit up the person that got you started and say, hey, I need to launch my business, right? And have them help you out. Or if you have a large team, I want you to look at your team and ask yourself, hey, who is in my organization that I could launch right now? That I could help, start to apply some of these things right away. Because when you get information like this, you want to apply it immediately so it sticks in your head. But guys, I appreciate you guys. I have a meeting here at 7 in literally 10 minutes. So I got to go, but have an amazing rest of your guys' night. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys all very, very soon. Bye guys. See you on the next one.